Yes, this is a very interesting issue, comparing biological and chronological age. The easiest definition is for chronological age. That's simply the number of years old that you are, calculated from your date of birth to the current date. That's an easy one. Biological age is something that people who work in the aging field have struggled with really for many years. Are there simple measures, a blood test, an examination that we can use that gives you a measure of how old someone is biologically? We know that people age at different rates, and that you can be a young 80 and you can be an old 80, and how do we capture that? And there's still not one simple measure of biological age that works for everybody, but it's a concept that's quite valuable. Yes, in traditional approaches to aging, we really are concerned with specific chronic diseases that affect older people. It's a medical approach that's very traditional and not that different in older people versus younger people, where you search for a specific disease. In the biological approach, you're not only looking for those diseases, but you're looking for mechanisms that underlie disease. And often that kind of a mechanism may be working across multiple diseases. There may be issues that can affect heart disease, that can affect cognitive functioning, that can affect liver and kidney functioning. Things that go wrong that are more general with aging, that have this underlying biological impact on how many of our organs function. This is an approach that's somewhat new and of course could be quite valuable if we can find common denominators of many of the chronic diseases of aging. We could approach the treatment and prevention of those problems and potentially prevent not just one disease, but multiple diseases. Yeah, absolutely. Not only in preventing these conditions, but in treating people who have multiple conditions, having an understanding of common factors that underlie those conditions could be extremely valuable in approaches to treatment. Well, mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of our cells, which take various nutrients, mainly glucose, and turn it into little packets of energy called ATP that can be used by a whole variety of cellular mechanisms. These mitochondria are in almost all cells and are extremely important for all cellular functioning. When the mitochondria are not functioning as well, you can have a vast number of issues with general cellular functioning, and then that can affect organ functioning and can affect the whole body, all the way through to causing general feelings of fatigue and frailty in people. So it's kind of a universal effect on all tissues in the body. And we need our mitochondria to be functioning at the highest level. This is a really interesting issue about age-associated cellular decline. We don't really know the answer to your question. We're really just starting to learn about age-associated cellular decline. But we suspect that it starts at an early age. Some people say that aging begins the day you're born, but many of the issues that we see in old age do start decades before we reach a certain magical cut point, whether it's 65 years or 75 years. An example is muscle. We know that most people attain their maximum muscle mass and muscle strength in their 30s, and then unfortunately it's downhill from there. And while the declines in the 40s and 50s are slow, we are already declining at those ages. And then we see an acceleration of decline in muscle strength once people reach advanced old age. And in some people, that decline is accelerated and they get into trouble where they really don't have enough strength to do the activities of daily living. Other people continue to decline at a slower pace and do better. But this really is pretty much a lifelong issue once people reach mature adulthood. We don't have real strong evidence about what we can pick up in our daily lives that show accelerated aging in younger people and even in young old people. But as people get beyond the age of 75 or 80, there often are really strong symptoms of accelerated aging that relate to energy level, to physical functioning, to cognitive functioning. People have complaints that are pretty much universal once they reach advanced old age, but some people are really experiencing more severe declines in these areas of functioning. And that is a good sign that they have accelerated aging that may be related to specific diseases or may be related to the aging process itself. Again, you're asking some very challenging questions here in terms of changes in mitochondrial function that you may actually notice. Right now, we're really still learning about that. And certainly you can speculate that people who have low energy, who have lost functioning, for instance, lost muscle functioning, and are not nearly as strong as they were previously, may be experiencing factors related to loss of mitochondrial function. There's been work, for instance, in chronic fatigue syndrome, where we don't really know the cause of that condition. There's been speculation that the mitochondria play some role in that condition. But in a more general way, it wouldn't be surprising to learn that conditions like frailty are really, quote, mitochondrial diseases, that people just don't have enough energy for the kinds of problems that lead to frailty in old age. Yeah, I'd have to say it's a combination. I mean, we can't sense our little ATP packets of energy. We have more general symptoms of low energy that could be related to mitochondrial dysfunction or could be related to other issues, but we haven't learned to discriminate between where that low energy is coming from. Fatigue is one of the most common symptoms that people walk into their doctor's office and complain about. It's particularly common in the older population. And it's a very difficult condition to study. It's real, we know that. Everyone feels fatigue at times. Some people are just weighed down with their fatigue to the point that it really has a big impact on their lives. So they're definitely experiencing a real symptom that we need to learn a lot more about, and how much it relates to the actual mitochondrial function inside their cells is a fascinating prospect that needs more study. And potentially, if we learn to improve the function of the mitochondria, we could see people having a substantial increase in their ability to function, to feel energetic, to have a high quality of life. Yes, detecting changes in muscle strength and function is something that's not difficult to do. You finally asked me an easier question, but we can measure muscle strength in simple ways, such as using a grip strength measurement tool where you just simply grab and squeeze as hard as you can. There are more sophisticated machines that can measure strength in many of the muscles in the body. In measuring functioning, we go beyond just simple strength. We have people doing activities that are usual activities. For instance, my group, when I was at the National Institute on Aging, developed a simple battery of functioning in which we measured people's gait speed. We had them do some balance tests, and then we had them stand up and sit down from a chair as quickly as they could 5 times. And just putting those together, we found that they were very reflective of someone's general state of health and highly predictive of future problems like falls and disability and even mortality. I think there are a lot of things that older people go through, changes that they have that traditionally have been simply felt to be related to aging, that you're getting older and this is what happens. And we certainly saw that in the area of dementia, where people thought that just part of getting old is becoming what they used to call senile. We now know that dementia is a real disease or a series of diseases, the most common of which is Alzheimer's disease. And I think that there are a whole lot of other areas of aging in which there may be some natural decline that everybody goes through, such as decline in muscle mass and muscle strength, but that in certain conditions in which certain people, there's accelerated decline, and in which there could be interventions that could be quite valuable in slowing down that accelerated decline. So we need to look at these declines as areas, and this really is when you think of all the different functions in the body, both physical functioning, cognitive functioning, visual functioning, there potentially are interventions that could reduce that slope of decline so that people don't cross that threshold where they really get in trouble, whether it's cognitively or physically, where they just can't get up out of the chair anymore, where they have trouble walking across a room. If we could intervene on that kind of decline, we could really have a big impact on people's lives as they age. We also know that good nutrition is critical in maintaining strength and function as people age. You need adequate protein intake. You need adequate intake of energy in order to keep up your functional level. We're also learning about other kinds of nutritional supplements that could be of help in maintaining muscle strength and muscle functioning. And I think this is really an area that will be researched much more, and that there's a tremendous amount of potential to support people's nutrition and improve their muscle function and strength. Well, if you're asking a doctor, when should you start having good health habits, the answer is pretty obvious: as early as you can. It's certainly never too early to maintain good health habits, both being physically active, not smoking, not overdoing alcohol, eating well, including not just protein, but of course lots of plant products in your diet. Is it too late? It probably is not too late. I mean, even people who are quite old and can benefit from physical activity work and probably from nutritional changes. We need to do more research to learn about that. But quite a few years ago, there was some breakthrough research that's used 90-year-olds who had problems with functioning, who were weak, could barely walk, and who had interventions for exercise from physical therapists. And people were amazed at how well they did. It was not too late, even in these nonagenarians, to see major improvements in their level of physical functioning. So it's definitely not too late. Yes, first we have to figure out how to improve mitochondrial function, and then we would see what we could what benefit we could get out of that. Now, you could hypothesize that there would be a global benefit to many different tissues if they had more energy, if their mitochondria were functioning at a higher level. We know that in certain conditions, mitochondrial function is severely impaired. The heart muscle has more mitochondria per muscle cell than any other organ in the body. And obviously, you need a lot of energy in your heart for it to keep beating and beating for decades. And so we might immediately see some benefit in heart function. We know that chronic heart failure is a really important condition in older people. We see other conditions such as peripheral artery disease, where you're not getting enough blood to your legs. And we found that affects mitochondrial function. And so if we could improve the mitochondrial function, people with that condition who have trouble walking any distance might find that their level of functioning was improved a great deal. And then there are, all of the organs in the body, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs. We might see real improvements there. And the brain also has mitochondria. So who knows what we could see there? It's a really exciting field. And I think that it remains a lot for us to learn. But it would be very easy to kind of hypothesize that we could really see, quite general and dramatic improvements in aging if we could really improve mitochondrial functioning. Yes, this area of biomarkers is really fascinating and really, again, another challenging area in the biology of aging. Many biomarkers have been studied. As I mentioned early on, we don't have a single biomarker, which is a perfect measure of biological age. But we do know that there are a number of biomarkers that reflect various kinds of cellular and metabolic functioning that can tell us a lot about how someone is doing. And so if we had a panel of biomarkers that reflected a number of conditions of aging, we might really be able to individualize our approaches to people so that we're working in areas, whether it be with drugs, with nutritional interventions, with physical activity and exercise. We're working in specific areas that could really have benefit for the problems that we're finding as indicated by these biomarkers. So these would be signposts that would tell us which way to go in our interventions in order to maximally improve functioning and healthy aging in people with multiple different kinds of conditions.